Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I am the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is specific for chapter webmasters. So if you are becoming a chapter webmaster, or you'd like to be a chapter webmaster, or you're just on the leadership team of your chapter and you'd like to learn how to update your chapter website, this is the webinar for you. So what we're going to do is a very basic kind of 101 level, how to access the CMS editor or the content management system here in BNI Connect in order to make updates to and changes to your chapter website. Before we get started on today's topics, just a couple of little housekeeping things. First of which is that this is a live webinar. So if you have any questions whatsoever as we're going through the topic today, please do feel free to ask those questions. The best way to do that is to type your question in to that little question panel, and I will see it pop up on my screen, and I'll be able to answer it as we're going through the material today. We're scheduled for about 30 minutes. I usually try to keep these short and sweet so that you guys can get back on with your very, very busy days and lives and your appointments that you might have this afternoon. That being said, I am always happy to stay on these calls until every single question is answered. So if you don't have another appointment to get to and you have a ton of questions, feel free to ask as many of them as you'd like to. The only silly question is the unasked question. We'll also be recording this webinar, so if there's somebody you need to share it with, you are welcome to do so. It will be loaded in two places, the first of which is on our support site. You can access it by clicking this question mark in the upper right-hand corner. And the second place will be on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. All right, so without further ado, let's take a look at these chapter websites. Now, for those of you that may not have seen the chapter websites before, these are websites that are generated by BNI Connect. And one of the great things about BNI Connect is that it's helping to generate websites for about 900 regions around the world, about 60 countries, and about 7,000 chapters. That is a lot of websites. Now, hold on a second. I am getting a comment from Milada. Milada says she can't hear me. Is anybody else having a problem hearing me? Or is the sound coming through okay? I'm getting good feedback on my monitors over here. Anybody else? No, Jason says he's good. Steven says he hears me fine. Let me just, if you guys don't mind, I'm going to just type to Milada real quick that everybody else can hear me and she may need to reconnect. Everyone else is hearing okay. You may need to reconnect or adjust your speakers. Sorry, Milada. All right, so let me send that off to her. All right, excellent. See, I told you this was a live webinar. So as I was saying, the chapter websites and BNI Connect really kind of also is a WordPress for all of these chapters and regions around the world, and it makes it really easy to update your chapter website as well as to also keep it within brand compliance. Because it's being generated by BNI Connect, a lot of the information on the site is automatically updated. For years and years and years, chapters have been going off and making their own website. So they go out, they register a domain name, they start programming a website, and it's it's some great publicity for the web designer in the chapter. But inevitably, what always happens is the web designer gets bored with it, or they leave the chapter and they realize it's really hard work chasing people down to fill out their bios and their profiles for this website. And usually the web designer is doing this out of the goodness of their heart. So almost always these chapter websites end up getting outdated really, really quickly. So with BNI Connect, because a lot of the data is taken from the system, things like the roster, constantly updated automatically by BNI Connect. The speaker rotation, the leadership team, all of these things get pushed to the website automatically. So let's take a look at a couple of these websites out there just to give you an idea of what can be done. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is just take you to a plain old generic website. So this is my test region, AntarcticReferrals.com. This is BNI Antarctica. We have a ton of chapters up there. Let's take a look at them. If we go to find a chapter, I can take a look at our chapters here, and let's take a look at the Frozen Assets chapter. That's our chapter up in Antarctica. And let's take a look at their chapter website. Now, this is a completely generic, out of the box, no changes have ever been done to it website. You can see that it has, just some very generic text about the website. It puts the leadership team and the meeting location and the director consultant and a picture in there. This chapter is struggling right now. It doesn't have a lot of members, but the chapter members would be listed here. And there's also a chapter news feed that's available that gets published from the region. Now, again, this is without making any changes whatsoever. I'm going to take a look and go to my own personal chapter website, which is the BNI Rhode Island Wakefield chapter. So here's one of an active chapter. So we still really haven't made any changes to this website. I know, shame on me, but this is our chapter, and you can see the thank you for closed business is updated automatically. You can see that we have a link to our chapter Facebook page. It has our meeting location. It has the current leadership that's over here. All of this stuff is updated without having to do a single thing. The chapter speakers are at the bottom here. So whenever our Secretary Treasurer updates the chapter speaker list, it's automatically pushed to the website. Our member pages, so every member has their profile up here as well. So for example, here's my profile. Again, because I've updated it in BNI Connect, a webmaster doesn't have to chase me down for this information. Let's take a look at a couple of other ones out there on the internet. So let's take a look. One of the ones that I've always liked is the BNI Rugby chapter. This is a chapter in Warwickshire in the UK. And you can see they've done some things with theirs. They've actually done quite a bit of work on theirs. They've put some nice widgets over here on the side and up in the top right to get to their social media. And if you scroll down, you can see that they've added a lot of graphics and videos and, click-through forms and register for the chapter meeting, some quotes from their members. So tons and tons of information here on their chapter website, including a map to their chapter meeting. And they also have their chapter members page, which they've made to look like the home page as well. They have a gallery that they're sharing some, basically pictures from various meetings and things like that. And they also have their news feed as well. So this is all stuff that you can do with your chapter website. Let's take a look at one more. The Golden Ideas chapter, Golden Ideas BNI. And as you can see, that the SEO does a really good job with always kind of finding what we're looking for here with BNI. They've passed $1 million in the past 12 months. You can see that they've gone for a 2-column layout here with a whole bunch of different things. They have a nice little click through to see a message from the president, a map for their chapter as well. Now, one thing I found interesting is that on their chapter members page, one thing they did, and this does require some advanced coding, but they put in a view power teams functionality here where they can view their power teams. Let's say the marketing group. We can see who's classified in their marketing group, which looks like only one person right now. So this is something that they were able to do right on their BNI Connect web page here. So we have a couple of questions that popped up here. Let's see. Matthews has a couple of questions. He says, is there an API that we as web designers can hook up into to pull out some of that top level data? At this time, there is not an API. That is one of the things that is on the list for this year, is to develop an API as well as a mobile application. But that has not been completed yet. Once it is completed, there will be some rules and some things in place as far as who gets to use it for what, an application process and things like that. We'll know more as we get closer to when that is actually released. Check with your executive director. They'll be getting updates towards the end of the year, as that starts to become available. Does that make sense, Matthew? All right, thanks. All right, so Matthew also says, is the website mobile responsive? So unfortunately, these chapter websites right now and the region websites are not natively mobile responsive. We do have a new CMS in place for the national websites that at some point we're hoping to, we'll see if that gets rolled down to these ones. But at this particular moment, they are not mobile responsive. Some people have used things like Due to Mobile and other kind of plugins for that in order to bring it into the mobile compatibility, but right now it is not. All right, so does that answer your question there, Matthew? Now Mike says, please show me the backend settings. That's exactly what we're going to do right now. All right, so now if you want to update your websites, here's how to go in and update them. So for that, all of the functionality is located within BNI Connect, so within your user login. And if you go and click on the BNI Connect button, you basically just log into BNI Connect. You'll get to the home page. Now, the place that you're going to go to hit the CMS editor is under the tools. So we have network, operations, reports, tools, and admin along the top here. Network is going to be the networking components, social media stuff, interacting with other people around the world. Operations is day-to-day chapter management. Reports are going to be, well, reports. Tools will have some special functions in them, like this particular the CMS editor. So if you click on Tools and click on CMS and then Chapter Websites. Now, if you're a chapter webmaster, this is the only thing you're going to see under here is Tools, CMS, Chapter Websites. If you happen to be a director consultant or on the regional or a national team, then you'll see some of those other options there. Now, if you don't see this option and you want to go in and update your websites, it just means that you haven't been assigned to the appropriate position or permission yet. Just talk with your regional office. If you are either like a president, a vice president, secretary, treasurer, normally you'll have native access to this, or they can assign you specifically as a chapter webmaster. Again, something that your region can take care of. If they're struggling with that, of course, they can let us know at support as well, and we'd be happy to help you out. All right, so assuming you can see it, once you get into Manage Chapter Websites, you will see all of the chapters that you have access to. Now, as a sysadmin, of course, I have access to all of them. You'll more than likely just see something like this with just one thing in the list. So this is our Antarctic referrals, our frozen assets chapter, and this is the one that we're going to work with today. If I want to just go out to the website, of course, I can click the link and that will open up a new tab. It'll bring me to the website. Otherwise, I can click this Edit button under Options, and this will take me into the editor. All right, once we're in the editor, you can see that it's broken into a couple of different tabs. The first tab is the Pages tab. These are all the different, this is basically the layout of the web page. We have our home page, for example. We have our chapter members page. Within the chapter members page, we have subsections or subpages. We have a gallery page and we have a news page. Under here, we have different options. We can edit the name, edit the meta tags, the content, and on certain pages, we can show and hide them as well. Now, I'm going to get back to this. Let me just show you these other couple of tabs along the top here. The library tab, in order to put pictures on your website, they need to be hosted on an internet server. Now, you can host those pictures on the BNI Connect servers in order to put them onto your websites, but you do have to get them up into the library first. To do that, click on the library tab and click the upload button. All you need to do is browse your computer, and let's see what we have here. All right, let me grab a couple of pictures here, the BNI Connect support logo. I believe you can take up to 3 of them at a time and upload up to 3 images. And now I have these 3 images up in my library, which means I'll be able to use them on my website later. You can also upload documents if you'd like somebody to be able to download a document from your website, for example. You can upload Flash objects. I'll be honest with you, nobody's using Flash anymore, so I would steer away from it if I was you, but the technical ability is there to do it. So once you're happy with that, we can move on to the next tab here. Now, the next tab doesn't have a ton of stuff that you're going to be working with. The most important thing, though, is up at the top here. You will see that you have our domain name. Now, the chapter pages, they are sub-pages of the regional domain. So here in Antarctica, it does auto-generate the first page name. So our domain name up there is antarcticreferrals.com. So for this chapter, it auto-created a name called shiver-region-frozen-assets. That is a mouthful. So if I needed to tell somebody where to go to hit our website, I'd be telling them antarcticreferrals.com/shiver-region-frozen-assets. You can change that. So you can take out or change the chapter folder name. In this case, I probably want to change it just to Frozen Assets. And that way, it becomes a little bit easier to say, antarcticreferrals.com/frozen assets. As long as it is unique within that region, you're good to go. Now, Mike has another question. He says, if we have a legacy BNI chapter site, how do we repoint to the proper DNS to show this? For what you would do here is, if you've updated this chapter folder name, for example, what you can create basically a forwarder in your DNS entries to point to this domain name. So you don't necessarily need to point it to an IP address per se. You want to redirect it to basically antarcticreferrals.com/frozen assets in this case. So if you need more help with that, do me a favor and just shoot an email in and to support.bniconnect.com. and we'd be happy to help you out with that. All right, Mike? So Mike says, what is the need for the chapter folder name? So that's basically your domain. That is going to be where your domain points to. So again, I could go directly to, in my particular case, bniri.com/Wakefield. That /Wakefield is my chapter and the folder name of where my chapter website is located. All right. All right, the rest of this information on the page here, the member only button, the BNI International button, visit this chapter button, you can rename those technically. I recommend against it, just to give you guys an idea of what that is. That's these buttons in the upper right-hand corner, regional website, BNI International, BNI Connect, as well as the visit chapter button. So you can rename any of those if you need to. Before you rename any of those buttons, I do recommend you speak with your regional office, your executive director, because one of the things that's good about BNI Connect is that we are brand consistent between our websites. So when they go to another website and they're looking for a particular button, it's in the same place and it's named the same thing. The final thing you can do on here is you can put in some analytics code. If you are using something like Google Analytics, you'd like to track the visits and the hits to your website, you can pop in your Google Analytics code here. If you've made any changes, like I did here, I renamed our folder name to the Frozen Assets. I'm going to go ahead and click Update. And now we can see here that our URL has changed. So down at the bottom, we have two things. We have a preview URL and a live URL. My new live URL is /Frozen Assets. Here's the other thing. As we're about to start going in and actually editing the website itself. The way the CMS editor works is that when you're working on your website, so you're uploading pictures, you're changing text, you're playing with the formatting, all that stuff, you're actually working on a copy of the website, and you're working on this preview site. The rest of the world doesn't see what you're doing. Only you can see what you're doing. In order to show the rest of the world what you're doing, you then have to publish it. So you can work on it, you can work on it, you can work on it, you can come back to it later, however you want to do that, and then when you're ready to show the world your creation, you click the Publish button. Once you click the Publish button, and it usually happens really quick, 3-4 seconds there, it takes everything you've been working on in the preview site and overwrites the live site. and now they're both the same for a while. All right, so let's take a look at how do we go ahead and edit the site now. So you see here we have a number of pages, the home page, chapter members, things like that, the gallery, the news. Edit name. What this does is it changes the folder name of the particular pages that you have. So let me go back to the live URL here for the frozen assets chapter. What we're talking about is these basically kind of buttons, so to speak, here in the top row: home, chapter members, and news. So for example, if I'd like to change the name from, I don't know, the news, and I want to change this to what's happening, I can change the page name that way. Click submit, and if I refresh this, that should now say what's happening. Well, actually, no, it doesn't, because I haven't published it yet. Once I publish the site, and now I refresh it, we can see that this is now what's happening. So you can change these various folder names up here by clicking the edit name character. The meta tags, this is kind of a special thing. This is really an SEO. SEO is an art form. I won't pretend to know all the ins and outs of SEO and working with the meta tags. Suffice to say, if you have an SEO person in your chapter, seek out their advice. This really does help with the Google searches and the Google rankings by putting the appropriate things in here. And then finally, we have edit content, except for on a couple of pages here, such as the news and the gallery page. You notice there's a fourth thing: show and hide. So for example, this gallery tab is currently hidden, and we can choose to show it if we want to. The gallery is kind of a special thing. It's a photo gallery, like we saw on the BNI Rugby chapter, where you can put pictures of your chapter and things like that. You have the option to show that page. It will have its own special library. So if I click show, are you sure you want to show it? Sure. You'll see that the gallery tab now popped up. This again has its own special library where we can create some photo albums. And we can add pictures and descriptions of those pictures to that photo album that will appear on your site. So if I go to Manage Photos, I can add a photo. Let me go find a photo here. Let me put this mentoring photo up and upload that. And now I have a photo in my photo album. Let me go ahead and publish that, and let's take a look at what that looks like. You can see now I have a gallery tab. I have my test album, and we now have photos in that photo album. All right, so let's go into the bread and butter of this, and that is to edit the actual content. Let's see, we have a couple of other questions here. Matthew says, does that analytics code area accept other JavaScript like the social side buttons? Those wouldn't be in that particular area. That's, I believe, only for analytics codes. However, that you do have access to the source code on each page where you would put those types of things, and I can show you that in just a second. Mike says you can't use characters or symbols. Nope, not in the names up here, in the folder names. So. Matthew says, can you add additional pages to that list? And the answer to that is no. You are limited to these pages that you have here. So you are not able to enter additional pages. However, you can kind of repurpose some of those pages. For example, some people have turned the news page or the gallery page more into a blog type of feeling. So that's one thing that you could do with that. All right. So we are now in the website itself. So you can see that we only have the ability to edit kind of this middle section here where we have the picture and all of the text. We have all our tools here. And honestly, if you've ever created a Word document before, you pretty much know how to work this tool. It is really that easy for most of the basic stuff that you're doing here editing the page. You're changing the words, you're putting in pictures and graphics and links and things like that. If you want to do more advanced stuff with it, that is possible too. You do have access, as I said, to the source code. But for the most part, all the stuff here is stuff that you're going to be familiar with. For example, we have all our formatting tools here. We can bold things, we can make things italic, we can underline something, we can change the font size to make it much bigger. Yeah, I can change this to a nice green color. Right? So again, things that just about everybody's familiar with already just from ever having worked on a document. Some things that you might not be familiar with. If I want to get a picture up here, so I uploaded a couple of pictures earlier, and let's say I want to put a picture right here in between these paragraphs. To do that, what I'm going to do is first I have had to upload my pictures into the library. And then I just click this picture icon here. This will allow me to browse my library. And there is some stock imagery in here. Or, for example, I uploaded this Get Connected, Stay Connected logo. I can grab that and, oh my goodness, that is huge. Let me change the size of it a little bit. Maybe I want this to be 200 pixels. And now I have an image in here. The other thing you may want to do is link things. So, for example, if I want this BNI to go to the BNI website, I can link that by clicking the link button here. And I just need to type in where I want it to go to. And the same thing works with graphics. So I could make a hyperlink on a graphic as well. Maybe I want this to go to support.bniconnect.com. Now, when it comes to the source code, you can do some more advanced things in the source code. Like, let's say, for example, you want to put those widgets in, or let me say I want to put a video on my website. To do that, you do need to go into the source code to do that. So let's say that I want to put a video, right here. What I like to do is I like to just mark where I'm going to put it. So XXXXXXX, that's where I'm going to be putting the video. Then if I go into the source code, you can see that we have our source in there. We can expand this, and when you're in the source code, sometimes it's helpful to go full screen as well. And what I need to do is to then grab my video and put it in there. For example, let me go and grab a video real quick. Let me move that out of the way. I'm going to go to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. And let's say I want to get this complete your profile video, and I want that to be on the website. I'm going to grab the embed code. Let me bring this back over now. And where I have my XXXX, I'm going to replace that with my embed code from YouTube. YouTube did all the hard work for me. I don't need to know any coding. I go back here and let me exit out of full screen now. And we can see that I have my video here. If I go and save this and view it, we can see that the video will just play in line with the rest of my page. And the same works with the JavaScript code for, again, Facebook links and LinkedIn pages and all of those little widgets. Most of those sites have some type of a widget generator that automatically puts the code and builds the code that you need to put into the source code here. So again, it's just a matter of finding the right tool and the right look and feel for the one that you're looking to put into your site. Mike asks, is the source in table structure or div code? I'm going to assume that when I showed you that, the answer to that, to be honest with you, I know enough about CMS to be dangerous, but I am not a expert. We do have an expert on our team. He is Frank Ruiz. He is our expert on all things CMS and website related. If you have some very technical questions, I am happy to put you in touch with Frank. All you need to do is send us a ticket in to support@bniconnect.com. Again, support@bniconnect.com. Jason says it was tables. So awesome. All right, so once you're done with this, I'm going to go ahead and save this and close it up and publish the site. Now that it's published, I should be able to go to the URL and you can see my gorgeous new chapter website in all of its glory. You can see it has the video in here. It has these updates that I made, the picture that I put in. So the links should work now as well. So this brings me to the support page. And if I click here, it'll bring me to the BNI page. All right. So that, my friends, are the basics of the chapter websites. What I'd like to do is to open this up for additional questions. While you guys are coming up with any questions, just a reminder, we are recording this. I will be able to put it up on our support site. So if you'd like to get to our support site, again, when you're in BNI Connect, click on this question mark in the upper right-hand corner. That will take you over to the support site. And you'll see a whole bunch of stuff up here. Help documents and guides and walkthroughs, as well as our webinar series is right up at the top. We only have one webinar left this month in the entire month of March, and that is going to be tomorrow. We're going to be talking about the online renewal process for leadership teams. If you know somebody on your leadership team that needs to know more about the online renewals process, please, a good referral for me is to send them to that webinar tomorrow. We also have, we're going to be doing that whole series again in April, and we're going to do it again in May. So if anybody is joining your chapter in the next couple of months, please send them to learning how to fill out their profile or giving and receiving referrals online. All great information, especially for new members. As I mentioned before, you can also find the recordings on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. We have our entire library of videos up here, as well as some short education moments and other special messages from Dr. Meisner and things like that up on our YouTube channel. If you'd like to be notified when there are changes, please go ahead and subscribe to it. All right. Do we have any additional questions? Just one comment from Jason. He says, thanks, well done. You're very welcome, and I appreciate the compliment. All right, anybody else? Oh, by the way, please do make sure you give yourself a CEU for today's class. Go back to the home page, and when you're at the home page, submit a CEU for today's training. Just make sure you give yourself 1 credit for the BNI webinar. So if I go to submit CEU slips, the second one down, 5 podcasts or BNI webinar, I'm going to go ahead and give myself 1 credit for conducting today's class. Make sure you guys give yourself 1 credit for being here today. All right, Michael says, I'm just loading the mobile version, but it's slow loading. Has the site been optimized for mobile? Right now, the site has not been optimized for mobile. The CMS editor itself is before that time, so it is something that we hope for the future, but it's not something that's mobile optimized right now. I wish I had a when answer for you, Michael. I do not have an answer. It's definitely something that's on the list. We do have an international technology advisory group that makes the prioritization decisions. So hopefully at some point that will be considered and put forward. Mike asked about the CEUs. So to be honest with you, it doesn't really matter as long as you give yourself 1 credit. But yes, I usually use the second one down, which is 5 podcasts or a BNI webinar. All right, what other questions, comments, concerns? Going once, going twice. All right, on that note, thank you guys so much for being here and taking time to learn more about the chapter websites. I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. And remember, a good referral for me. If you found today's format beneficial, please do recommend some of the other webinars that we offer next month. They'll be on your regional calendars. In the meantime, have a wonderful rest of your weekend. Happy connecting.